Hello world, this is Shruti Pandey, and today it's an honor and privilege to invite somebody like Ravi sir, who a lot of you might be knowing from his cat coaching classes or training videos or teaching videos, and he has been in the edtech game way before edtech was called edtech. So I'm so happy that you gave me your time today, Ravi sir. Thank you so much.
Happy to be here, Shruti.
So I've seen a lot of people ask you only about the early retirement part and the number of crores you can get until a certain age, 30 plus, 38, whatever that might be. But I have created 4 questions for you, which are a mixture of all the journey which has come to this juncture of your life. Is that okay if I start my questions?
Fair enough. See, I think there exists a certain amount of recency bias in this information. Now, this particular aspect of my life has become popular over the last 6 to 8 months because I have started talking about this for the past 6 to 8 months. If we were having this conversation, let's say 2 years ago, then the conversation would have been about, how to sell a company and when I got acquired. If we were having this conversation 10 years ago, 12 years ago, probably it would be how to start a company. If we were having this conversation 20 years ago, it would have probably have been about, how to crack IIT, so to say. So with time, thing changes, and especially on social media, people have a very small memory, so to
Oh,
say.
yes, I call it attention
I think
deficiency.
so that I think that has got more to blame or give credit for why most of the conversations have been around early retirement more than
I
anything else.
I am actually feeling very lucky right now because all that things that you spoke of, I can talk to you about everything, which is why I created 4 questions which will cover all of that. So I'm probably trying to be greedy and utilizing your time very judiciously. So I hope I'm able to make the most. And if you feel ki Shruti, you haven't done enough justice, you forgot asking me something. At the end, you can very well use the stage. The stage is already yours.
Absolutely. Please go ahead.
So my first question is teaching as a profession, to be very critically honest, in a country like ours, not many choose that, you know, or have that passion for teaching. But you were teaching mathematics way back in 2006 when you were associated with another institute. So what led you to getting into teaching first? How did that spark?
See, it is about options that I had available at that point of time. So I was studying computer science at that point of time, and I didn't particularly like it. Now, if you're studying computer science and you know that, okay, this is not something that you're going to do, the next possible option back in 2006 was see, if you are studying mechanical engineering, computer science, or get into coding, that used to be the option. But if you're already studying computer science, you can't really get into mechanical or anything like that. So the only options which were financially viable were get into the coaching industry, so to say. Ideally, I would have wanted to get into the IIT JEE coaching industry because that's a space that I knew a little bit about. But I was in Kharagpur at that point of time. The internet and online interviews didn't used to be that big back in 2006. They existed, but coaching institutes are sort of laggers when it comes to adoption of technology. So I had to look at Calcutta as a possible option for a job. And in Calcutta, instead of JEE coaching, it used to be CAT coaching used to be a lot more popular. And that's why I got into that particular field. So it wasn't so much as that I had the passion for teaching or I had some grand goals. It was just that the other option that I had in front of me, which was getting into a tech coding, that sort of a job, that's not something that I wanted to do. And this looked like a feasible, low effort, reasonably paying option at that point of time.
So you basically very analytical and logical thinking of I understand what I like and not like, and choosing what will suit me. Is
Not really. So I don't really think that I have it very well figured out even today with respect to what I would like to do. But I did understand the things that I don't want to do. So it
wow.
has always been avoiding stuff. So, okay, so there are 5 dishes in front of you. You know that you don't like X, you eliminate that as an option. And
Right.
among the four, whichever is the path of least resistance, least effort, easiest to do, I went with that. And math was, since I come from such sort of a educational background, that my math was decent. So teaching math became a very obvious option to pursue.
Elimination theory is also very important, and I learned very late that what beauty this concept has. I mean, if you don't know what you want, at least if you know what you don't want, is also a very, very big asset and strength to have. So understanding that, okay, this is my passion or not my passion, what led to you starting the edtech thing back then when edtech wasn't even a thing? I mean, you started creating these educational videos and posting it. How did that happen?
So I started posting videos on YouTube, I believe, in 2008. And at that point of time, my simple reason to do that was pretty straightforward, that how do I get a better hike in my salary? So I was a teacher who had just joined in 2006. There were 10 other teachers. There were teachers in the organization who have been working for 10 years. There are people who have joined with me, people who have joined after me. Now, as a coaching institute's teacher, once you have 10-15 years of work experience, you build a certain amount of brand name. And that is essentially how your career progresses. Now, if you're a good teacher, you have built a certain brand name, they'll put your face on hoardings and you know, you
Yeah.
get paid and you get compensated that way. But for junior teachers, it is very, very difficult for them to differentiate from the others. So that's where I thought that if I do something online, which is probably none of the senior teachers, no one, not many people, I'll not say no one was doing it, but not many people were doing it in 2008, that you build a website, you put out free videos, free content. And I thought that that would please my boss, that would please my bosses. And it was very well appreciated by a bunch of my seniors that, okay, this guy is taking initiative, he's doing something extra. It costs nothing to the company, it costs nothing to me as well, because putting videos on YouTube was innovative, was easy to do back in 2008. So that's why I did that, in essentially, to get a better salary hike, so to say. So that's the first part of it. Then eventually, after, around 2012-13, I thought that it might be possible to make money off it. So my initial idea was that, okay, I'll put videos on YouTube. I earlier, so in 2001, 2002, I started blogging. And in 2002, I still there. So Google AdSense was just starting out at that point of time. So what used to happen was you have ads on your blog and they make you some money, maybe $5 a month, $10 a month. But the idea was that you put out content. If people read that content, you can also get paid. Anyone can get paid, which in 2023, it's obvious. In 2001 too, it was not that obvious. So I did that. The next logical extension of that was the YouTube thing, because YouTube also paid out content creators at that point of time as well. And that's essentially why I got into it. But once I started doing it, I realized that, okay, there is not enough money to be made via the ad route. So in 2012, I thought that, okay, uh, at least the content is being liked by people. What if I can sell this content to others? Because I had put that content out online, I started getting inbound queries from organizations that, okay, we have seen your videos on YouTube. Can you make 10 videos for us? I said that, okay, fine. Pay me, I'll make these videos for you. So once that started happening, and then I realized that, okay, why are these guys getting videos made from me? because they are getting videos made from me and then they're reselling it to students. So if they can sell it, and if maybe right now I'm making maybe 10%, 20% of a much bigger pie, but if I sell it myself, I'll be making 90% of a much smaller pie. So that's why I started selling those videos online myself. And that's how the company started in 2012.
Oh, what a crazy ride. And I think I know this was all unplanned. Like you said, even now, you don't go about planning things as you mentioned, but still, I think this logic or this algorithm, if technical people may call it, can be applied to any kind of industry or stuff, right? I mean, if I'm into technology, if I'm into SaaS, if I'm into PaaS or whatever kind of thing, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, that could also have been a reason why a company approached you for their customer success division and helping you with that.
No, so that Mintical Mintical is now a $1 billion company, but in 2011, that was around the period of time when I was about to get married. And that's when I thought that it would be a much better idea to get a high paying, established job in a
People,
company.
yeah.
I did not know the founders directly at that point of time, but I had common friends. So some of my seniors were, so a couple of founders are from ISP, and couple of my batchmates from KGP, couple of my seniors from KGP were their batchmates in B school. So they said that, okay, this guy knows and understands content well. That's when they connected me to the Mintical guys. And I thought that it's a good enough option to explore, to get a stable salary in a tech company, helps you get started. So that was the part then. So that's how the Mintical part got started. I worked there for close to a year, year and a half. By then, my wife had also found a job. So by then, my wife had found a job, I believe, in Credit Suisse. So she had a stable job. When she had a stable job, so then, I had the luxury to, okay, I can try out my own business at that point of time.
So do you consider luck also playing any part in this trajectory or journey? I'm not quite sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The only thing, I would say the biggest role that has played has been luck only. In 2012, if I started, you know, this particular thing in 2008, which I did try to start, didn't work. In 2012, I started it again. It worked. So it is obviously I was at the right place at the right time. I was incredibly lucky because if I had started it in 2016, it would not have worked. The amount of competition by 2016 would have been immense. If I started it in 2008, which I did, it didn't work at all because the market was not developed enough. So it is purely luck. I would say luck played a very, very significant enough role. As a matter of fact, the one of the people who approached me for creating these videos was Gaurav Munjal in 2013 when Unacademy had not even started. So he approached me, okay, I'm starting a YouTube channel. Will you make videos for us? I said, fine, I'll make videos for you. That is, so I made videos for them. I gave videos to them. That is the point of time when Unacademy co-founders had also not joined. Now, you can look at it both ways. A, it was my good luck that I got connected with them at such an early stage so that it helped me with an acquisition 7-8 years down the line. You can also look at it in that I was extremely unlucky because what if I had joined them at that point of time itself, then I would probably be sitting with hundreds of millions of dollars
Yeah.
at that point of time. So you can spin it anyway. I was extremely lucky or I was extremely unlucky, but it is chance plays a role.
My goodness. I mean, there came a point where I was tired of listening to luck from the many founders I've interviewed until now. And I used to wonder, I used to be surprised. Now, I'm sorry, I was giggling. Sometimes I find it really funny, but as much as there's hard work, effort, and everything, I now appreciate the essence of timing and luck even more, because you're so right in saying 2008, way too before 2016, lost the game. So it's all about that 2011, 2012 sweet spot. And I also appreciate the fact that you didn't give up. For the fact that, okay, how much did it work in 2008 or not work during that time? And you actually re-establish the brand and
Oh,
you
no,
that.
I had given up. I had simply given up. So it would be, a clear-cut lie saying that no, I was persistent or anything like that. I'd completely given up. That is why I joined, these sort of jobs. It was because I started seeing inbound interest.
Correct.
People started approaching me, okay, can you make these videos? I didn't go out and say, and so when one person approached me, it's fine. Then another guy comes into the picture. Then the third guy comes into the picture. So
And
that otherwise, I would have quit my job a lot sooner. It is because these people were coming in on their own. That gave me the idea that, okay, if there is someone who is willing to pay for anything, why is he paying for it? He is paying for it because there is someone else who is paying him a higher amount.
exactly.
So I don't think that persistence or anything like that deserves credit. Ki no, you didn't give up. You kept on trying, and that is why you succeeded. Nah, it was purely a function of someone saw it. One guy approached it. I agreed. I did it for the money. Then the other guy came. Then the other guy came. So and that is purely dependent on luck.
Thank you so much for your honesty, and not being sugarcoating these things, because people who would be listening to us, I think things like this matter to them, right? I mean, what happened with you, your journey, your story, your life, because most of the time people are at relatable junctions in their life, and every time you're seeing people approach you to make video, I feel stupid in the number of times I've said no, because yes, I have a podcast now and I don't want to take away from your spotlight. This is your journey, but I'm feeling like maybe I'm stupid in saying no to all those people who are like, can you create a video for us? I need to probably talk to you and understand some things.
It depends on what your goal is. See, my reason for creating videos was very simply, okay, this is something which can make me a little bit of money. And B is, if you are recording my video, then you will use it. So it will get me, so I'm getting money upfront, plus someone else is validating the idea, validating the concept.
Correct.
So yes, there is a certain amount of opportunity loss that instead of making 100 rupees, I'll make 10 rupees. That's fair. But if the project fails, then so he's paying me 10 rupees. I'm very sure he's paying 20 rupees, 30 rupees to the marketing team, to the tech team who is building it. So it was a very simple choice for me at that point of time. And I did not have any other plans. Now, whether you should create videos for others today or not, that depends upon that. Okay, if you do not create it for them, do you not want to do it? That is one possible option. Or you want to do it for yourself. That is another option, and you have been doing it for yourself. I stopped doing, as soon as I started making videos for myself, I stopped making it for others because it didn't make financial sense.
Correct.
If I have to put in time, effort, and energy, I would rather put in for my own product, my own service than for anyone else.
Makes total sense. And moving on to the fact that you created this, how do founders call it, like you created a product, you created a baby, you strived for so many years, and then you thought of selling it off or giving it away. Like, was it easy, was it difficult, was it some percentage
It
of
was pure,
okay money, what was it
it was
about?
only money. It was 100% a financial decision. I did not in any way, get attached to it, that, oh, people do that. I
The
understand that
emotional, yeah, correct.
people have that sort of, you know, attachment to it, that, okay, this is something that I've created. I have put my heart and blood and sweat into it. And how do I give it away? I do not see it that way. How I, honestly speaking, how I would see it as, at any point of time, say, for example, right now, if you buy a car, well, I've seen people who get attached with their cars as well, that, okay, even if they get a good rate, they will not sell their car.
Yes.
People get attached with their houses as well, that even if they get a good rate, this is the place where my kids grew up, this is the place where my mother died, how can I sell this house? So people have attachments.
Yeah.
Good for them. See, anything that gives you pleasure, you should optimize for that. So I'm not saying that. Personally, I never got attached to the business to that extent. So the first time I had an offer to sell the business was in probably 2013-14.
Of course.
And I would have done it if I had gotten good money for it. I just looked at the finances. I thought that, okay, I can make more money than this
Yeah.
myself rather than giving it away for the price that is being quoted. So that is why I optimized for money. Now, when in 2020, I actually decided to sell it off. Was it a good financial decision? No. But by 2020, my priorities had changed. So my priority was, okay, I didn't want to work so hard. I did not want to, run a team of 10 people, worry about, okay, how they are doing, hiring, firing people, taking care of customers. It's a lot of work. So if I continue doing that work, maybe over the next 5 years, I'll make more money than the acquisition. But I did not want to work at that point of time. So the decision was that, so that does not mean that you give it away for zero. You want to avoid that work, you cannot give it away for zero. But, instead of accepting 100 rupees, I would so option one is that you make 100 rupees from it over the next 5 years, but you work for the next 5 years. Option two, you take 60 rupees and you work for 2 years, and then you are free for the next three. So I took the one because the extra 40 rupees didn't matter to me that much. So it was still a financial decision, but now the priority was being free. So, but
man.
there was no emotional attachment or anything like that at any point of time.
I love the level of honesty you have in giving answers, because people can beat around the bush, try to cover up, try to look saint or
I,
this
I
or
don't think
that, but
I,
just
I do not think that happens. I think the blame for that getting lost is how people project it. So, so suppose when these founders give out their interviews, they're long 1 hour interviews. They get cut down in 10 minutes, in 15 minutes. They go with and this has happened with me as well. A 2.5 hour interview gets cut down to 20 minutes. Couple of good clips are used. A flashy thumbnail is used, and the message is lost.
Mm.
So I, and people do get that impression because of it, that, that founders try to hide it or they beat around the bush. Honestly speaking, I've met multiple founders, multiple successful founders, multiple failed founders, and I've had conversations with them. I have read their conversations in an interview, and then I've called them up that, boss, this is bullshit. How can you say this? I did not say this. It is just a portion of what I
Uh,
said, but it gets
But
lost
basically,
in
how the
translation.
news media and journalism these days is, if somebody says something and only some part is cut and put. Because I think you mentioned it rightly. When I see those longer things and people how they clip it, do it, and which is why I never wanted to do that with my podcast. I wanted to have it very raw, unadulterated, unfiltered, and maybe have it for a shorter
That
duration.
is
But
not getting
whatever
views
that
then.
time is, people should listen to that in the entirety.
People will not, because people do not have the time and the energy and the inclination to sit through a 40-minute or a 50-minute video. So, say, for example, for this particular video, let's say it goes to 40 minutes. If you cut it down to 10 minutes and you get 100 views, if you do not cut it and if you keep it 40 minutes, you will not even get 20.
Yeah.
So it's your decision at this point of time, whether you want to put out the entire 40 minutes, get 10 views, 15 views, or cut it down to 10 minutes and get 100 views. And as as someone who is giving the interview, I would also be happy when I see, okay, this video got 1 million views and this video got 342 views. And that would happen. Say, for example, I did a interview with a company called Wint Wealth,
Yes.
available on YouTube.
Yes.
Last I checked, those guys told me at last I checked, it had over 1 million views.
Right. Okay.
And I did, and it's a good video they've edited and they have done a very, very good job at it. Personally, in the interviews that I've done online, I really like the interview that I did with Vivek Pathak. And that's also available. And I think that had, what, 700 views at one point of time. So that's the difference between 700 views and 1 million views. Now, if you ask me, which one has a more honest and a better picture? Definitely Pathak's does.
Yeah, but I
There is
don't see
no
that when I
doubt.
search. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
There is no doubt in my mind about that. But which one I'm happy about? I'm obviously happy about the video that got 1 million views. So it's a point. So just saying that the blame entirely lies with the journalists or the podcasters or the news editors is unfair. The blame also lies with the people who are giving out with these interviews, because they are also driven by views, because they are also driven. Man is a social animal. So we are driven by the validation that is provided by society. Now, there will be 0.1% of the people who do not really care that, okay, I don't care, I'll just do my work and let the work speak for itself. But if those people are like that, they would never be coming to podcasts. They'll just continue to do their work. So anyone who appears on podcasts is essentially coming with a certain intention of, okay, I want to put my word out, but that people need to watch it as well. Now, about the part of the interview, I would want more people to watch it, but it's so long, people will get bored, and very few of them would actually sit through the entire thing.
Wow,
So,
man. This conversation is like a playbook on so many things. People can use it for how to create their thing, how to sell it off. Like there's so many golden nuggets of wisdom in this conversation, sir. And I appreciate you. I think I'm being redundant or repetitive in saying this, but I really appreciate you for your honesty. And moving on to, since you mentioned the elephant in the room, I didn't want to name them, but yes, I saw a couple of those videos and I was like, I don't want to, you know, picturize him in the same view and same eyes. And I want to see his entire journey and wisdom that he has been doing for a while now. So I researched and I tried using my brains in creating this question. But my final question for you is not just on the fact that, oh wow, early retirement, sir, you figured it all, you're so awesome and this and that, but how affordable even the thought of early retirement is for a middle class person in India today. I mean, like, is it doable? Like, there are people who would have come from, places where food, clothing, shelter also they had to take care of and then move on to the other things. So, what do you feel like? Is it really a viable option for people, or is it just another?
it it completely depends upon what is the current financial state that you are at. First of all, you know, the concept of the middle class doesn't really exist in India. So we can't really say that, because if you look at the traditional definitions of the middle class, which talks about upward mobility and what percentage you are looking at, I believe if you make maybe 3 lakh rupees a year, then you are in the top 10% of the country. If you are in the top 10% of the country, you are not really, middle class. At 3 lakh rupees, you are, as per the definitions, you are upper middle class at 3 lakh rupees. We all know that 3 lakh rupees a year for a family, and it's not an individual, for a family at 3 lakh rupees a year, you are not doing that well, to be really honest.
Exactly.
If you are so, so how do you actually define the middle class becomes a question. Because if at 3 lakh rupees, you are not in the middle class, then you are above the middle class at 3 lakh rupees, then probably you will be middle class at what? 1.5, 2 lakh rupees? At 1.5, 2 lakh rupees, it would be difficult to even sustain yourself, a family of even 2 people or 3 people. So, let's take middle class out of this conversation. Then comes the other issue of, if you look at in terms of finances. So I would say, if you are able to save currently, whatever your income is, if you're able to save more than 30-40% of your income by the time you are 30, then by the time you are 30, I'm assuming by the time you're 30, you are married and you have a kid. So being the standard, if at that point of time you're able to save 30-40% of your income, yes, there is a certain possibility of an early retirement by a 40-45 sort of a time frame. But if you are not saving even 30-40% of your income at that point of time, it would be difficult. Because the idea is, if at 30 years of age, you are saving somewhere around 30-40%, your 30 to 40, you will make a lot more money. And the percentage that you will be saving will move on to 40%, will move on to 50%, will move on to 60% as your income levels grow. So for that sort of, so if at 40, you are saving 60-65% of your income, I would say that's still possible to retire by 45. If you're saving 70% of your income at 40, if you're saving 30-40% of your income at 30, yes, there is a possibility of retiring by 45. But if you're not saving that much, I think it's going to be very difficult.
So again, it is all mathematics that goes into picture, and your honest current
Absolutely.
situation, financial situation. Forget about what class, caste, creed, color you come from. It's all about understanding your financial situation, the number of dependents, and what the income, etc., getting into picture, and understanding if you can retire or not.
Fair. It's completely a mathematical question. There is no doubt about it. And, there are multiple other things which worked in my favor. My wife worked for a very long period of time. So that helped. I had a kid very late. That helped. Both my parents are doctors, so they never took a penny from me. That helped. They still live on their pension, so they're not financially dependent on me. So all of these things help.
Yeah.
So let's say if my parents were dependent on me, then even if I had the money, I would not be able to pull the plug from working, because once your parents are past a certain age, a medical emergency is 2 hours away. You cannot really predict what happens in that sort of. You
Which
would
which
not be able to pull the
Which is why when
plug.
framing the question, I mean, while I was very this on the fact that should I put middle class, but which is why I asked you, like, what if somebody is starting from scratch, taking care of food, clothing, shelter? Like, can the people even think about retirement? Because it's going to be so
And
difficult.
also, I do not think that from a career perspective, it's very difficult to plan 10 years in advance.
Hmm.
You do not know what your career is going to, and career is going to be 10 years down the line. All you can do is maybe think about the next couple of years. All you can do is that, okay, I have 100 rupees right now. A, how do I save 30 rupees from it? And B, how do I make my income 120 next year? You just keep focusing on increasing your income and increasing your savings. And that's the best that you can do at an early age. If you end up saving a lot of money, if you get uh, lucky somehow, maybe suppose you join a startup and that startup does well and your ESOPs have done well, maybe there is some sort of a story that plays out somewhere. You can think about all that, but your focus at an early age, when you're just starting out, or maybe even when you're 30, 35 even, your focus should not really be on retiring early or anything like that. Your focus should be on increasing your income.
Oh man, I absolutely am in awe of your straightforward answers. Seriously, sir. More respect for you after this conversation. And I want to wrap this. I don't want to wrap this, but I have to wrap this conversation. And I would like to end it on a very funnier note, asking you, uh, what do you do if when you retire? Like you have ample amount of time in life now. What do you do when you have retired?
Various things I have been trying. So I'm writing for money control fairly regularly. That's something that I want to do. I started a YouTube channel called the Desi Fire podcast, which talks about early retirement. I did a stand-up comedy show a couple of, I think around a month or so ago. So these are the sort of things that I wanted to do. I wanted to try out. So that's what I'm doing on I try to be really active on social media as well. So this is all the stuff that I wanted to do and try for a very long period of time, but I couldn't because of the responsibilities that were there. That's primarily it. I am experimenting, trying things, see what I like, see what I don't like. And
You're
now I have the
enjoying
luxury to
life.
do that.
You're enjoying life and making the best of it.
No. I do not want to give out that impression that it's a utopia or I'm really enjoying my life or anything like that. That's definitely not the
In
case.
choosing what you want to do, like all these things which probably
Yes.
from the
So
backbench.
true. So uh, I'll say that it is a advantageous position to be in when I compare it with working in a stressful job.
Right.
But is it the sort of utopia which often gets projected in conversations that, you do this and your life is set? Doesn't work that way.
In
That's a
fact,
lie that we
in
have
fact,
been sold from that. You crack 10th, you get good marks. You get good marks in 12th, life is set. You get to an IIT, life is set. You start a company, you sell a company, life is set. Life is never set. Dust that settles, not men.
that's the standard Indian lie all of us are fed with since we were kids. And I think it would be wrong calling you as retired because you're still doing so much amazing work with all the different things that you just mentioned to me.
No one is paying me for it. So
But
that's
still, you're still working. So I think
no.
it's not
So
retired.
the concept of work, essentially,
Hmm.
work becomes work when there is a financial compensation which is associated with it, and that's a fair financial compensation.
Right.
So,
Right.
say, for example, I very recently I made some questions for someone for 150 rupees. I would never even bother, but that's a trivial amount. But I wanted to try that out.
Right.
I uh, I like making crosswords, for example, and I have reached out to at least 20 people that, okay, I'll make a crossword, give it to you, please publish it. Nearly everyone has said no. One guy agreed, but he refused to pay any money for it. I still gave it to him for 2, 3 times. So I will not really call that work because I'm not being compensated fairly for it. So I would still put it in the early retirement category.
So, sir, like I mentioned at the beginning of this conversation, do you think, or if you feel, whatever, do you think or feel if I've missed asking you something or you wanted to talk about anything, please share your thoughts.
Nothing as such. No. If I
Or
had something, uh, you know, I would have got it in the conversation somehow or the other. So, no.
lovely. Any parting thoughts or message for people who are listening to you, especially youngsters who are looking up?
I don't really, I don't really think too many would even reach till the end of the video. But if
Ouch.
you did reach the end of the video, please send me a request on LinkedIn or Twitter just so that uh, I can actually know how many people even reach the end of the video. You can search for Ravi Handa. You should be able to find it fairly easily. I'm pretty active on both LinkedIn and Twitter. And let's see how many people even reach here. I don't think many would.
I'm keeping my fingers crossed, and I don't know how much or how many will do that, but yeah, that's also a reality check. But I really appreciate the fact that you were so honest throughout the conversation, and the fact that you gave me your time today, sir. So thank you so much.
Happy to do that. Any point of time you want to discuss, have a chat. As I've said, I have time. That's a luxury that I have right now. So I'm always available to, jump on a call or something like that.
Thank you so much.